A Nebraska congressman is calling on President Trump to make the right decisions moving forward when it comes to handling Venezuela. First Alert 6's Andrew Pfeiffer joins us live in the newsroom with the latest from Nebraska Representative Don Bacon. Andrew.
Well, Zena, Bacon says the main focus the United States government should be on Venezuela's people rather than the oil that sits right underneath them. Since the U.S.'s capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro early Saturday morning, reactions have been fairly mixed from both Democrats and Republicans. While some are celebrating Maduro's removal, others are skeptical of President Trump's decision. In an address yesterday, President Trump said the United States will have control over the country until there is that proper transition. He said the U.S. would work to tap oil reserves there, and Congressman Bacon hopes the U.S.'s control of the Venezuelan government will be brief.
Short term, I don't think America wants to run Venezuela. If the message is that we're doing this to take control of Venezuelan oil, it's going to be widely rejected by most Americans and the world. There's got to be a higher calling here and what we did, and I think there can be. I'm excited for the Venezuelan people, but the president's got to get this right now for the follow-on actions to be right.
The Nebraska Democratic Party also released a statement yesterday following the events. It reads, "American citizens stand against dictators and tyrants. That is not the question for today's actions." President Trump stated that America is now running Venezuela. This is a dangerous precedent and one our Democratic Party stands against. You can see the different reactions on both sides here. We've also compiled statements from other Iowa and Nebraska lawmakers. Those are on our website at firstalert6.com. For now, Nicolas Maduro and his wife are awaiting trial for criminal charges and drug trafficking against the United States. In the newsroom, Andrew Pfeiffer, First Alert 6.
Andrew, thank you.